Here's the truth, and nothing but on this podcast, the number one tariff talk podcast. So over the weekend, the Trump administration was engaged in what it describes as high-level talks with China just about the whole shebang, about the whole trade and tariff situation. And today morning, the administration announced that as a result of those talks, both countries agreed to lower their tariffs for a 90-day period while they work out the details of a larger deal. According to the New York Times, Trump will lower the tariff of Chinese goods from 145% to 30%, while China will lower their tariff from 125% to 10%, both being a reduction of 115% on their tariff rates.
Still higher than it was before he took office?
Still much higher than it was before they took office. China will also get rid of other tariff countermeasures, like their restriction they put on rare earth metal exports, which genuinely would have just killed industries. Cars need rare earth metals, computers need rare earth metals, aerospace needs rare earth metals, defense needs rare earth metals.
Do you know if there's still products coming in that will have to pay that original 145% tariff?
That's the thing that I don't know, because the news just broke today. I know when a tariff gets implemented, it's not implemented like traditionally. Usually it's not implemented like exactly on that time. It'll give some time for things to prepare, because you have ships that come into port as the tariff is announced that obviously you can't just eat that money. You need to be able to plan for some shit like that.
The economy is based on expectations.
Yes, but I think that when tariffs are taken away, it would make sense that it's immediately taken away and you don't really have to wait to take them away.
Yeah.
That's what makes the most sense to me. There could be a waiting period on things. Either way, if there is a waiting period, I would imagine it be soon, because the only reason that this happened is because Trump wants ships to be able to dock at port. And nobody wants to pay the 145% tariff, so they're just not docking at port.
And it was essentially a week of news where reporters were like, yeah, the dock's fucking empty. Like, there are no freighter ships coming in right now.
Yes, and it's like, while this whole ordeal, this whole, like, I don't know, pause while we negotiate things out, will stop the empty store shelves, at least like in the short term, as retailers have 6 to 8 weeks of inventory and shipping containers will be able to get over in that time to replenish what they have. We're still at risk of facing as just like noticeable price increases. The tariff's bigger.
It's still 30%.
The tariff is still 30%, which is way more than it was before. I believe the tariff on China was like less than 10% beforehand or some shit like that. And that is going to get passed on to us.
30% is more of what we expected when he talked about tariffs on the campaign trail. You know, he was saying blanket tariffs. 10 to 30% is around what a lot of people expected. And even then, they were like, this is catastrophic.
100%.
Will raise prices. Because, again, it's a tax on imports. And obviously, the companies are going to pass that to the consumer.
And it's also like things that have already seen price increases because of tariffs or the anticipation of 145% tariffs are not going to go down. You are not going to see a majority of the things where the majority of companies who have raised prices will not then lower those prices.
Prices never go down.
Prices are sticky, baby. They are going to stay up there because they've already kind of like proved that maybe people can go up there, or they'll be lowered a little bit.
Well, yeah, like what incentive does a company have if they increase their prices by like 15% in anticipation? What incentive do they have to lower them if they know people are still going to buy it?
Especially in a market, not a market, but especially in a scenario like this where the pause is only 90 days.
Yeah.
We have no idea if the 145% tariff comes back. Shit, we have no idea if it's going to be a 200% tariff by the time any of this is over. We don't know anything. We don't even know if it's going to last the full 90 days.
Yeah, Trump could come out next week and be like 2 billion% tariff on China. Like, he could just cancel all trade with China. He could ban trade.
We are completely decoupling from China. It could happen. Stranger things have happened. 145% tariff happened, and that was considered catastrophic beforehand. It's not looking good. And even on top of the 30% tariff on China increasing prices, just by virtue of it being a 30% tariff, we will still also see a price increase as a result of every single corporation that wanted to import something from China will be importing everything that they can within these 90 days. We are going to see shipping bottlenecks. We are going to see like overfilled shipping boats running on fucking double time, port workers running on double time to unload all of this, and that will cause downstream effects that will also have an effect on price increases that we're seeing. It's not just going to be the 30% tariff. And that's just how it works.
That's quite literally inflation.
Because shipping rates will raise to accommodate the increased volume that we're seeing as everybody wants to order everything that they, one, have been waiting to ship since the 145% tariff has been in effect, and two, order everything that they possibly can in case these talks break down and the tariff comes back in. It's just like, It's not a situation that anybody can predict anything in.
And it's like, this is just China. Like, we had the UK deal last week, which still maintained a 10% tariff anyways, except on those luxury goods that Trump and his friends like to buy. But like other countries, like there's still tariffs on Canada, there's still tariffs on Mexico, there's still tariffs on our other trading partners. So people are still going to be hesitant about getting stuff to stock shelves that come from countries other than China in this period. And like you said, still 30% tariff, so prices are still going to go up.
Which is lovely. We're just not going to see empty store shelves.
Yeah, we might not have totally empty shelves, but it's going to cost you more.
Yeah, which, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? And it's also just like, what happened to the great revival in American manufacturing?
Yep.
Yeah. What happened to manufacturing iPhones in America?
Yeah, we were told that these tariffs were supposed to bring manufacturing back to America.
Good manufacturing jobs. Manufacturing jobs where you're sitting at the fucking loom and doing whatever the fuck that China did before.
Manufacturing jobs that China stole from us, and now we're making a deal with China for trade. If the tariffs are gone, how are they going to bring jobs back?
Exactly. If the tariffs are gone, what's the incentive to manufacture in America? Mm-hmm. Is the incentive the idea that Trump might just randomly pull out a gun?
Yeah, exactly.
You have no idea when I'm going to press the tariff button, so you ought to just build here.
Yeah.
If that is the situation, that's not a situation where anybody can function. Yep. And like we've said before, they'll just wait out the 3 years.
And I meant to say this last week, but even with the tariffs, even if they somehow bring manufacturing back, there's no guarantee that those jobs are going to be good or lucrative jobs for American people.
There's no guarantee that those jobs will even stay in the country, as eventually, if the incentives that caused capital flight to happen in the first place aren't adjusted, or we don't put stricter measures on companies that are incorporated in the United States or headquarters in the United States, they're just going to eventually offshore to like the next cheapest place to manufacture.
And like the reason that those jobs were good to begin with, good being a relative term, of course, is because they were unionized jobs.
Unions and pensions.
And there was a lot of government regulation and oversight coming in at the time. That doesn't like exist anymore. Yeah. If we get a bunch of jobs back, even like from a country like China, say we get like a bunch of like clothing manufacturing that comes here, there's no guarantee that those jobs are good for anybody, but it will make somebody else a lot of money.
Yes.
How does that help America as a whole? How does that help the American people as a whole? It doesn't. There's no guarantee that these tariffs will actually help anybody except people that want to make a lot of money.
Yeah. It's a stupid situation.
Yeah, it's really stupid.
It's wholly fucking dumb. And like the details of this haven't come out because obviously there are no details. They're still going to be negotiating over the next 90 days. Yeah. But we do have some news from Scott Bessent. As the New York Times reports, Bessent said that purchase agreements for American goods are some of the things that are on the table to reduce the trade deficit we have with China. No details of what these purchase agreements may contain, but considering the UK deal,
it's fucking stupid, man.
I'm really curious if we're just going to force American-made beef on China.
Yeah, you will drive a Ford F-150.
I gotta wonder if we're just going to continue to just force things that don't mesh with other markets just into them.
Yeah, that makes me feel like the deal maybe won't get done because like it's really easy to get the UK to agree to take our beef. Yeah. But I don't know. I guess I don't really know.
I think China already imports a lot of agricultural things from America. Like I think it's like bone marrow and like some other shit.
And like shit like that.
But like to expand, are we just gonna force them to just get more shit?
And I feel like we're just gonna get to a point where maybe the deal is like marginally better than what we were already doing with China.
It's gonna be marginally better.
And we just put ourselves through this crisis for literally no reason.
Yeah.
Which is what happened last time Trump was in office, exactly. By the way.
There's no doubt in my mind that at the end of this fiasco, if the tariffs do go away, which who fucking knows, he seems ideologically committed to keeping 10% on literally everything for no goddamn fucking reason, just because tariff's a beautiful word. I think whatever trade deal happens, it will reduce the trade deficit we have with China. It will do some other things, but it won't do anything meaningful.
Yeah.
And it will all just have been this whole circus and fiasco and just big charade. You know?
Yeah. And even if it does, again, like even if it does end up increasing, GDP to some statistically knowable degree, it does nothing to ensure that those increases or those benefits are shared evenly among the people. To do any of this appropriately, to do any of this for the benefit of the working class, you got to attack capital. Exactly. And Trump is a capitalist.
No matter what deal is made, unless it be, I don't know, substantial and genuinely historic, this is not going to make your life better. It's not going to do anything for you. And it only it risks making your life worse in very measurable and very noble ways. Again, it is so much easier to destroy and tear down and make things worse than it is to make things good.
Yeah, it's hard to make things good.
It's very hard to make things good. People have tried for a long time, folks, and things are still pretty not good.
Yeah, and again, that UK deal was a fucking joke.
Yeah, it was.
It was a total joke. Like, we're getting luxury cars in here without tariffs, but there's still a 10% tariff on the UK.
UK deal was, I guess we'll let you send steel to us so that we don't cripple your steel industry, or at least reduce it by like a not insignificant portion. We're going to buy luxury cars for my rich friends, and you're going to buy our shit beef. Which I guess realistically, it's not going to be shit beef that gets exported to the UK. It's going to be like the specialty stuff. But like...
Yeah. But again, like,
why?
Okay, companies are making those gains, but how are those gains being distributed? Companies will not just raise the wages of workers because they feel that's the fair thing to do under a new trade regime. They're going to keep it for themselves.
Exactly.
You need government regulation.
Oh, no, the meat packing facility is going to hire more workers.
Yeah, we're going to hire some kids from Florida.
I don't know, man. Yeah. I don't know if that seems like my vision for America's future.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Broadly, outside of forcing our beef on China, on CNBC's Monday morning, Bessent said, quote, "We tried to identify shared interests. We came with a lot of problems that we were trying to solve, and I think we did a good job on that. One, nothing got solved. The only thing that got solved is maybe less tariff than before. And two, like Scott Bessent is saying that part of the pathway to the deal is working out a way for China to scale back its manufacturing sector over production while we scale up our own manufacturing here in America." And I just got to take a moment to say that seems like something that's not going to happen.
That seems fucking impossible. We're going to convince a country to stop making as much stuff.
Yes.
Come on, man.
And it's like the allegation of like Chinese overproduction. That is how China gets its soft power throughout the global economy.
Yeah.
What they're saying here is China, through state subsidies, holding up like corporations that are unprofitable and keeping their head above water so they can send out cheap goods throughout the global economy, increasing the market share that they can capture up, and just increasing China's soft power. They're saying that that's bad. They're essentially alleging that China is doing what Amazon did to diapers.com.
We do that for our agricultural industry.
That's what we're actively doing when we send our shitty beef to the UK and force them to buy our shitty beef. Like, it's the pot calling the kettle black. And it's also just like, they're not going to do that.
And like our farmers are swimming in subsidies. More specifically, agricultural companies are swimming in subsidies. It's the reason that we export our agricultural goods all over the world. We do the same shit and then get mad at China for doing it.
And China's not going to scale back doing that in any meaningful way.
No.
That is their soft power initiative, and they're not as stupid as we are.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And also just...
And China doesn't, like, pretend to be anti-state investment.
Oh, no,
like,
they're very much pro-state investment. They come out and say it.
Well, every country is. We pretend that we're not, but we very clearly are.
I think we should be more pro-state investment. I think we should be maybe doing the same thing.
It's how we built up literally every industry that we've crowned ourselves with.
I'm not going to come out here and make, like, a moral argument for or against, like, a country engaging in overproduction that could maybe do something or have negative effects on the line. I just don't know enough about the thing to do it. I just know I want the cheap Chinese EV.
Desperately, brother.
I just know I want the cheap Chinese EV.
You know how sick that would be?
That's what I'm saying. Oh. Man, it's crazy.
$9,000 car.
$9,000 car. That's ridiculous.
Oh, man. That'd be so sick.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And it's also just like none of this is a way that in any of this, I cannot see a way that American manufacturing comes back. The entire argument for American manufacturing coming back rested on a ridiculous tariff that would force companies to make here rather than import because it would simply be too expensive. You get rid of the tariff because you reach a trade deal. Why is anybody coming here?
Nobody will.
If anything, you are going to see things like what we've seen throughout the last couple of months where, what was it, like Honda announced they were going to do a plant here. Some other company announced that they were going to invest like in making chips in Arizona or some shit like that. You're going to see some of that going on, but it's not going to be anything that's like incredibly meaningful.
Yeah.
It's not going to be anything even probably like the fucking CHIPS Act.
It takes years to build up factories. And the CHIPS Act is an example of like a well thought out plan for investing in American manufacturing. It essentially in a lot of ways is just a handout to corporations, but under a capitalist framework, if you want to incentivize manufacturing of specific industries or building up specific industries in a country domestically, you got to do something like the CHIPS Act.
Exactly.
You can't just impose tariffs and expect countries to be here, or companies to come here, and then take away the tariffs randomly when no one's expecting.
And it's like, you don't have to go nuclear and start a fucking trade war unprovoked out of nowhere to be able to invest in your own country's manufacturing. That's just something that you could do. We saw it happen in the last administration. And then maybe after you invest in that industry and you build up some plants, you can do tariffs, reasonable tariffs to protect that industry.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I think state investment in industries is totally fair.
And it's just like the tariffs just kind of feel like the economic equivalent of murder-suicide.
Yeah,
I'm putting a gun to. I'm an ex-boyfriend. I'm putting a gun to my head. Don't fucking leave me. If you leave me, I'll kill myself.
Exactly.
That's like what we're doing, and we don't have to do that. We could move on. Mm-hmm. We could work on ourselves.
We really could. We really could.
But that's
dude. We just need a federal jobs program.
Yeah, get guaranteed job. Go plant trees,
just a
brother.
Federal, yeah, exactly. That's what we did during the New Deal,
and it was beautiful.
It was a part
and
of the
it
New
worked,
Deal.
and that's how we got to where we are.
Imagine if we like establish, because like essentially the military-industrial complex is like a federal jobs program, except private companies just make a bunch of money. We flood like. Entire state economies are dependent upon weapons manufacturing, for example. Imagine if we did that with like healthcare. Oh. Imagine if we had a federal jobs program built around building up our healthcare industry.
You do healthcare billing, and that's it.
Or built around building up like education capacities or something like that. And obviously not in a way that like benefits a private actor that's just trying to make money, but in a way that's just like, we're going to do something for the social good. We're going to flood the healthcare industry with public dollars, and you're going to make shit for people for free.
Exactly.
That'd be cool.
Your job is with a cap on the insulin vial. Mm-hmm. Man. $50K a year.
Here's a pension.
Here's a pension. $50K a year pension, union job. Argue against me. Go ahead and do it. Wouldn't that be so beautiful?
Good. I'm dreaming of a utopian society, people.
And it's just like thinking about the tariffs and like my conclusions when it comes to like just this whole fiasco and just what's been announced as of at least Monday, May 12th. The only immediately positive news here is that things aren't going to be as bad as they could have been, but they're still worse than they had to be. Mm-hmm. And that's the art of the deal.
And it's like this 90-day pause is low-key an admission from the Trump administration that it would have been terrible.
Yeah, we have to let goods get in. We cannot let store shelves be empty.
Yeah, and there's a reason that they were sort of acting with urgency and landed on this pause right now, because we knew that a couple weeks into May, things would have gotten really ugly, really, really fast. And they got out ahead of it. People were really banking on a 30-day or on a pause that lowered tariff percentages, and that's what we got. So